Ancient Civilizations by Bray Williams and Italy Flowers.
Ancient Mesopotamia. Early man emerged from Africa, and it's located between the Tigris River and provided fertilized soil, transportation, and the trade, and that equals rich soil. The flocks were unpredictable, and few natural barriers and natural resources were there. Crossroads of the world and independent city-states ruled.
The Sumerian Empire. This is where the Babylonians were, and it's where the Hammurabi Code came from. It was the first set of laws, and they called it fair treatment of women and mostly regulated business, but they did not treat the rich and the poor equally, and they were known for being harsh, which was like an eye for an eye and ear for an ear. And their religion was polytheistic, which meant that there was more than one god, and theocracy. They had a theocracy, which meant the ruler is viewed as a messenger of the gods.
Which was sort of held like a god. He was sort of held for a godlike status.
Yeah. And their goal is to keep the gods happy. They built the pyramids, which were like pyramid temples, which were like shrines to the gods. They are called ziggurats. And they had afterlife, which was not like the Egyptian afterlife. And they made the first wheeled vehicles.
Back then, people relied on where their food was, and that's migration. And during the so-called Greek Dark Ages, before the archaic period, people lived scattered throughout Greece in small farming villages, which evolved into governments, and this is called the city-state. Gender roles. They say that men and women were equally, but technically you can see that they didn't have differences. With the women, they had to stay home and clean and look after the children / boys, and with the men, they were taught to own their own trade and be leaders and merchants. But sometimes they got to get an equal treatment, like when they had individual tombs with statues.
Ancient religions. There was Judaism, which was monotheistic, meaning there was one. Their kind of leader in God was Abram, and Jesus was their prophet. There were three main sections of Jews, and they followed the Ten Commandments. There was Christianity, which was also monotheistic, and God is their leader, and they followed the Ten Commandments, and they had a heaven and a hell. And then there was Islam. It was also monotheistic, and they followed the 5 pillars of Islam, which was Shahada, Salat, Zakat, Swam, and Hajj. And they followed Muhammad, which was their leader. And then there was Hinduism, which was polytheistic, and they had 3 main gods, which were Shiva, he was the destroyer, and Brahma, the creator, and Vishnu, the protector, or some people call him the preserver, and they believed in reincarnation and karma.
Ancient religions continued. Buddhism, neither monotheistic or polytheistic, founded by
Siddhartha Gautama.
Eightfold Path, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. They seek purpose. Rastafarians believe that Haile
Selassie,
the first of Ethiopia, is their ruler. They were vegetarians and believed in clean and natural. They followed the Old Testament. Based off the teaching of Marcus Garvey, Jainism, harmful reincarnations, no gods or higher power, and 3 ideas, 1 belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. 5
Mahabharatas,
which was their important text, sort of like the Bible is to us. And Confucianism is no god, from philosophical beliefs, and believed in a time where people were more trusting in school of scholars.
The empires of the Fertile Crescent. The Phoenicians, they established along the Mediterranean Sea. There were sailors and traders, and they traded things like dye, cedar, metal products, and glass. And they used a 22-consonant alphabet that they still use today. Oh! Assyrians, they were the first to use cavalry in battle. They were the first to use iron on a bigger scale, and they used
You're either obedience or torture, and their downfall came from overpopulation and too many enemies. They took over the Assyrians and restored Babylon and built hanging gardens, astronomers, and bases of astronomy.
the Persians. It was an empire built by Cyrus, and Darius took over and split the empires into provinces ruled by governors. It was the largest empire, and they agreed on acceptance and tolerance, and they had one of the most powerful militaries, and the governors were watched over by spies to make sure that they were still loyal to the king.
And that's the end of our presentation.